GB18, PO Box 8690, Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No, because you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
We love Great Britain. We love its history, its culture and its tradition, and that's why we're so proud to be part of GB News.
You look genuinely emotional. Oh, come here.
GB News does pay attention to those who are ignored by the mainstream media. The majority of this country whose forefathers fought and died to maintain liberty, to fight for freedom of speech.
The rule of law, the rights of property and democracy. This is the heritage that our country should be so proud of.
Which of course includes our Christian heritage. There's been a huge resurgence in the number of people going to church. Perhaps they're not finding what they're looking for, and they're looking for something a bit deeper, a bit more truthful, a bit more akin to Britain's Christian heritage.
That's right, get ready, because the most exciting night in general election history starts now!
It's 9 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight,
show me a Palestinian who says that we should have not done anything to Israel.
well, a fundamentalist Islamic preacher is apparently on his way to Britain. Will the government ban him? And
Allah is clearly a very, very important, probably the most important activist and pro-democracy campaigner in his region. And he's also a very, very fine writer.
Well, Andrew Marr was also taken in by Egyptian extremist Al-Fattah, but should we deport his sister too? She praised Hamas's October the 7th attacks. In other news,
I did have to increase taxes yesterday, but I've kept them to an absolute minimum on ordinary working people.
£41 million of taxpayers' money has gone to fund a Kenyan sex chatbot. Also,
it is cake, and not just any cake, it's solar-powered cake.
Ed Miliband has a new plan to waste a load more taxpayers' money. And should we tag asylum seekers so that we know where they are at all times? On my panel tonight, we have got GB News contributor and occasional host Will Kingston, political commentator Andy Twelves and GB News contributor Connie Shaw. And why have the police ruined this? Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Deport the Egyptian extremist and his sister. Next.
There were politicians queuing up to be photographed with her, like David Lammy, for example. And yet, did they not look at her social media? If they did that not raise alarm bells and make them think, well, maybe there's something deeper that we need to delve into with this whole family?
Good evening. It's not just the Egyptian extremist Alaa Abd Al-Fattah that ought to be stripped of his British citizenship and deported. It's his sister as well. Last night, Sir Keir Starmer and Yvette Cooper launched an investigation into information failures that meant the bloke who apparently hates white people and Jews was allowed to come and live in Britain. But they also missed his sister Mona's social media posts. She appears to have praised the October the 7th attacks by Hamas. She shared a picture of those Hamas paragliders, said it was like something out of a sci-fi movie and that they had a special kind of imagination to find new ways of resisting occupation. Those paragliders were, of course, terrorists who murdered and kidnapped innocent men, women and children. She appears to have claimed that October the 7th was basically the same as Ukraine resisting Putin's invasion. And she even condemned Amnesty International. Yes, Amnesty International, for calling on Hamas terrorists to stop their violence. She said, you don't ask an occupied nation to stop their resistance. There also what appeared to be quite a lot of threats to kill on her social media. I will kill them. I swear I'll kill them. It's pretty on the nose there from old Mona, isn't it? Now, she says that it was silly bantering with friends. Do you tweet stuff like that? I'm not sure you do. But just when you thought David Lammy couldn't look any more foolish, here he is, looking very serious, really trying to look really serious next to her whilst he was in opposition. She was holding a sign, actually, next to him, urging then Foreign Secretary James Cleverly to bring her brother home. Well, he was home, wasn't he? Because he was in Egypt. And there's no evidence that he's ever been to Britain before he landed here this year. But this is the thing I find most hilarious. The Al-Fattah family have got everything they want and more from the British state. Successive governments have bent over backwards for no apparent reason to give her brother and his sisters British passports, to release him from an Egyptian prison and to promote the family to help them. Her brother arrives in Britain. What does his sister Mona do? Well, she appears to call for the release of the Palestine Action hunger strikers. Just immediately. It's a classic, isn't it? You give these people everything and then they want even more. But hey, it's not just the British state that was taken in by the Al-Fattahs. It's establishment media boffins like Andrew Marr.
Alaa is clearly a very, very important, probably the most important activist and pro-democracy campaigner in his region. And he's also a very, very fine writer. I am a devotee and indeed a collector of good political books, and I like them to be beautifully produced. And without saying any more, this is a very, very beautifully produced. You have not yet been defeated. And it's a gorgeous book, so I encourage you, if you possibly can afterwards, to go and buy a copy. They're on sale right at the back.
Great, always worth listening to Andrew Marr, isn't it? The man who said that Britain was like a little beacon of stability when Labour won the election, so he's always bang on. Anyway, last year, 107 MPs and Lords signed a letter to David Lammy urging them to get Al-Fattah into Britain. These include people like Liberal Democrat peer Baroness Sarah Ludford, who is now trying to wriggle out of it by saying that she thought that someone else would just do the due diligence on the Al-Fattah family. Great. Brilliant. Should we not expect a bit more from the Lords, do we think? Does it not seem incomprehensible to you that the Intelligence Service, the Foreign Office, top politicians, no members of the House of Lords who signed that letter knew anything about his sister seeming to praise Hamas's October the 7th attack or his tweets? Now, look, we should strip his citizenship and we should deport him, and I think we should just deport his sister as well. She needs to go. But I think we need to prepare ourselves for the possibility that some people did actually know how extreme they are, but they ignored it because it didn't suit their narrative. Let's get our thoughts from our panel on this. We have got GBNews contributor Will Kingston. We've also got political commentator and trade unionist Andy Twelves, and the GBNews contributor as well, Connie Shaw. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Will, I'll start with you. So deport his sister?
Yes, is the short answer. By the way, I when I was hosting, I didn't appreciate the speed of foot it took to get from that position to this couch. So a newfound respect,
my
Patrick.
daily dose of exercise.
Look, I'm glad you're still talking about this story, because if it is not the biggest story of the year, and I think it's almost approaching it, it is the story that sums up the year. It says so much about Labor incompetence, about the Conservatives going up against Labor incompetence, but then you realise that they were kind of in on it as well. The lefty lovies, which you covered last night, and the enemy within, to use Trump's term, which applies equally to Britain. The problem in a nutshell is this country has let too many people in who hate the country and its values and continues to do so. And I think it needs to get more comfortable with just saying, you know what, as a baseline to let people in, they should respect the country. I don't think that's too difficult. But, and this is more difficult politically, but not impossible, you control the laws, you can control how citizenship and deportation works. They should be more comfortable saying, if there is clear and obvious evidence, which there is here, that someone despises this country, its values and what Britain stands for, if they do have dual citizenship and they won't be stateless, get rid of them.
Yeah. I mean, his sister there, I mean, it seems pretty straightforward. We might be able to bring it up again, the paragliders tweet. But, you know, it's pretty grim stuff, given obviously what happened on October the 7th, and to come out and I mean, my interpretation of it anyway is that she's praising it, right? That's what my interpretation of it is. I mean, that should be a deportation matter, shouldn't it?
Yes, I think it should be. And obviously there is a tricky debate between what is free speech and what isn't. But I think that we have to have specific carve-outs for free speech. So, for example, a political party, for example, the Conservative Party, should have the right to say, no, we're not going to let these communists join the party and try and rot us from within. Countries should have that right as well. If she has dual citizenship, there is no automatic right to be able to essentially rot this country from within. And I'm afraid that's what we have allowed to happen over the last few decades by allowing such huge amounts of immigration from countries which hate the West. And this case, like Will was saying, does absolutely summarise this entire year. In particular, this government, whether it's the incompetency of being able to see his tweets, he was rescinded of an award in 2015 after it was discovered how extreme his views are. The hypocrisy about the things that he said and the fact we imprison people like Lucy Connolly, Luke Yarwood, the way that we treat Graham Linehan, and the way that we give out citizenship in this country. Why is it that just because you have a parent who was born, and I appreciate it, it was a law that was ended in the 80s and he was born just the year before it ended, why should you be able to just get granted citizenship in 2021 for the sole reason of trying to get him out of prison?
Well, actually, one of the funny aspects of this, now I'm saying you have to laugh because otherwise you cry. One of the funny aspects of this is that he would have, under British law initially, have sat what was known as a good character test. But we didn't have to do that anymore because a foreign murderer, won a case in the ECHR that meant that basically contravened human rights. You don't have to take that test, so he didn't have to take the good
that old
test,
chestnut.
which presumably he would have failed because of the tweets. But there we go. Look, I noticed Connie mentioned Lucy Connolly there. We did quite a bit on that last night. I'm keen not to go down the Lucy Connolly rabbit hole this evening, Andy, if that's all right.
Of course.
But just purely, really, of the facts of this, I was looking at it thinking the only way this could have got worse, really, is if it turns out that his family are wrong-uns as well.
Yeah.
And then it really kind of looks like one of his sisters is.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of what she said on Twitter, I don't agree with. I find it quite hateful and quite poisonous, and I think anyone with a sound mind would believe that. I don't think people should be stripped of citizenship because of tweets, though, to be perfectly honest. I think from Keir Starmer's perspective, he didn't grant him the citizenship. He didn't give him the entitlement to the citizenship. He saw a British citizen detained illegally by the Egyptian government. He freed him. As far as I'm aware, that is what you should be doing. If a British citizen is under a fascist authority... If they're illegally detained, yes. It's not because he wasn't detained for tweets or anything about it. He was detained because he called for free and fair elections in Egypt.
On the sister specifically...
I don't think... you think so? She took the good character test.
Yeah,
she did take the good character test.
A very strong
She's
look
a citizen.
At that test.
She is entitled to citizenship. So I don't think we should be stripping citizenship for tweets.
Police, then, because that's the kind of thing that now it's in the public domain...
well, it was always in the public domain.
Well, yeah, but
it was a public Twitter account.
Now everyone knows about it. Yeah, you would maybe expect to knock on the door from the police. 30 people a day being arrested for social media posts.
If the Metropolitan Police or wherever she resides feel like they want to, good for them. I support them fully too, but I don't think we should be stripping citizenship, rightful citizenship, because of tweets.
Look, it's not the tweet itself, it's what the tweet represents. Connie, I think...
That's not what you would have said about... not to go down the rabbit hole, but that's not what you would have said about Lucy Connolly.
Well, let's not go down the rabbit hole then.
It's a fair point raised.
Well, and the difference is that this represents someone who clearly despises the country. Now, a baseline of being a part of a club, and I think we should start to think about citizenship and immigration like being the member of a club, not an under-8 athletics carnival where everyone gets a go and everyone gets a ribbon at the end of it. A baseline of being part of a club is you should respect that club and you should actually want to be a part of it.
That's why they changed it in 1983.
I think that's why this is a separate issue to any other form of hate speech or any other form of speech which is nasty or disagreeable. The baseline expectation of a citizen is you should at least want to be a citizen and associated with the country.
Connie, I bring you in because I have genuine concerns that what we're actually going to find out from this so-called investigation into this information failure is that actually people really seriously were aware of his, and quite possibly his sister Mona's, tweets and social media posts, and that for whatever reason they either ignored them, didn't think they were a big deal. Maybe the most concerning aspect of it would be is if they agreed with them, actually. And I have concerns that that's what we're actually going to find out here, is that people did know about them and that they didn't mind in the British state.
I mean, I'm not really sure how to respond to it, because I don't know whether it would make it even... Patrick, if they knew about it, then obviously it makes it worse. It would surprise me if they knew about it, it would.
Can I add to that? You are right in saying there are only two options here. Either diabolical incompetence, both politically and administratively, or moral bankruptcy. And they're both resignation worthy, both for the politicians who supported this man and advocated for him, and anyone who was in part of the administrative efforts to bring him back or to make him a citizen in the first place. Like, it almost doesn't matter. They are both resignation worthy.
This is the thing. You know, James Cleverly, not to dig up the Tories too much here, but, like, he did at him on Twitter.
Yep.
In 2022. Like, they were aware that he had a Twitter account and what it was. And honestly, I'm not even to dig into the Tories, I'm surprised that no one at the FCDO or at the Home Office or whomever it was didn't Google it. I would be genuinely shocked.
I find it so incomprehensible that I think almost the logical conclusion is that they did know about this stuff. Because I find it so important. So it's so terrifying to think that we actually genuinely live in a country where we are being told we've got however many hundred, or in cases 1,000 people coming across the English Channel every single day, not to mention the amount of people who come in the back of lorries that we never find out about. And we are told, well, we're going to do background checks on these people. We're going to do a story later on about how there's this military base in Inverness, in Scotland. Now, the blokes, almost entirely blokes, who currently live at that military base are about to be deployed abroad. Now, a lot of their wives and children will still be living next door to this base, because a lot of the families of military live around military bases. And they are going to replace those army blokes with 300 asylum seekers very soon. That's supposedly happening on the 12th of January. And looking at this case here now, there is no way you can tell me that you've done proper background checks on those blokes, and we're leaving them next to the wives and children of people who are fighting the armed forces.
I think the issue here, Patrick, one of the reasons why to clarify what I mean by I would be surprised if they knew about the... They may well have seen them, but I think we have an issue in the West in general as seeing everything that happens all around the world in a Western lens. We have this idea that most people want to live in peace, that most people view democracy and everyone having the right to their own country or land as being normal. And so when, for example, we see words as globalise the Intifada as an example, we don't understand what the origins of that and what that actually means to a lot of people. So when he apologised, and even, forgive me, I can't remember her name, the Tory MP who said, he's apologised now, people can change. I think we have, the difference between, and not to go down the rabbit hole, the difference between something that Lucy Connolly said and some of the tweets that these two siblings have said is that this is a very deep-rooted ideology. Apologising for something that, by the way, he said when he was 32, he wasn't a teenager. That's very different, and we need to get rid of with this West.
And we can see that because the ultimate cheek, there's been two levels of cheek to this, really, because He has, after apologising, it was revealed, it's on the front of the Daily Telegraph, been liking posts about how all of this stuff is just a Zionist conspiracy against him. So, yeah, apology received, right? But then his sister immediately starts going basically like, cheers, Keir Starmer, my brother's in Britain. Now, release the Palestine Action hunger strikers.
She's a zealot to the cause, Ismail. She's a zealot to the cause. I think one of the things I think is worth mentioning, though, you spoke about, the values of democracy, of freedom. That was the reason he was detained in Egypt, was because he does believe in democracy and free and fair elections. He was one of the few in 2010 that got arrested for protesting in favour of Christians having the right to practice their religion. He is a believer in all of these things. That was the reason he was illegally detained by the authoritarian Egyptian government.
Why would you say all of these other things? Because the two doesn't really add up. How can you correlate them both?
I mean, he did.
Random shootings of white people.
But you can't say that he doesn't believe in democracy and freedom when that's the reason he got illegally detained. The authoritarian Egyptian government viewed him as much of a risk because he believed in those things that they illegally detained him.
But why should that mean that we have to welcome him in?
Well, because he had the right to British citizenship. Yeah. He had the right to it.
Well, that is a separate topic in its entirety.
If the Tories,
I don't think he should.
Big Bobby Jenrick is having a go now. He was a minister when he got granted citizenship. Where was he then?
Yeah, just to round us off, because we're pressed for time now, just very quickly, just want to talk about a couple of the other people who've been taken in by this. Andrew Marr, we played that clip to you there, and that Lib Dem peer as well, who's gone on Twitter and said, she basically has just said, look, I thought someone else would do the due diligence. And I think there's a really good point here to be made about how these people, the kind of lovely left-wingerlies, they saw what they wanted to see from this guy, and they do it the same. They do it all the time. They see what they want to see from like the so-called Gazan refugees. They're not going to stop and ask them what their views are about several things. They see what they want to see about aspects of the more fundamentalist aspects of the Muslim community in Britain. They don't do any digging. They don't want to expose it at all. I think a similar setup with this guy.
Well, that's particularly bad for a journalist, and it's too many journalists who now see themselves as activists as opposed to the fundamental job of a journalist, which should be to hold power to account and uncover the truth. Andrew Marr, who is an experienced journalist, is quite frankly embarrassing that he's not capable of one Google search.
All right, guys, well, look, we're going to whiz ourselves on because we have got an action-packed show tonight. I do just want to remind us all of what Al-Fattah has said. He says, looking at those tweets now, the ones that were not completely twisted out of their meaning, I do understand how shocking and hurtful they are, and for that I unequivocally apologise. Again, I will emphasise that we have contacted Mona Seif, who is one of his sisters, for a comment. We've not received a response, but we will bring you the latest on that story as we get it. There's probably going to be some developments when we get the front pages at 10:30. But the government spokesperson has said that Mr Al-Fattah is a British citizen. It's been a long-standing priority under successive governments to work for his release from detention and to see him reunited with his family in the UK. I have got a pretty sensational story for you at 10 p.m. The clock is ticking on whether or not what many people would regard as a radical Islamic preacher will be allowed to set foot on British soil. But before we get to that, of course, something to take your mind off it all is £85,000 in tax-free cash. It's the Great British Giveaway. Here's how you can be in it to win it.
This is your chance to become our biggest cash prize winner to date with an incredible £85,000 to be won. That's right, £85,000 in totally tax-free cash could be making its way from our bank account to yours. It would be like having over £7,000 per month extra to play with each month for a whole year. That could be you, with your feet up, safe in the knowledge that 2026 is on us. £85,000 is a massive amount of money, and it could be yours. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 9th of February 2026. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, you're going to love this, and by love I mean hate. Kenya has used £41 million of foreign aid from Britain, that's you, to fund an AI-powered sex chatbot for teenagers. Yeah, but up next, should we tag illegal immigrants? Well, it's been suggested. We're going to go head-to-head on that next.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys Tonight. It was suggested today that we should tag illegal immigrants. Should we? It's time for the head-to-head. Right, well then, should we tag them? Because a policing chief in Kent has suggested that tagging asylum seekers could deter any potential criminal activity, but the Home Office obviously claims the proposals would breach their human rights. Now, this comes amid a very serious story. Fears are growing over the safety of British Army families after plans emerged to house asylum seekers, migrants, next to Cameron Barracks in Inverness. Now, service personnel living at the base are due to be deployed overseas early next year, so really in a few days' time. And obviously what that means is that they're going to leave their families, which will mostly be women and children, living now alongside about 300 adult male asylum seekers who will be accommodated at the taxpayer's expense. Well, could tagging them reduce that risk? Let's go head-to-head on this now. We're joined by former Immigration Minister Kevin Foster and political commentator Fahima Mohammed. Thank you very much for joining us. Great to see you both. Kevin, I'll start with you. Should we tag asylum seekers / illegal immigrants?
Yes, I think it's one of the things the
Home Office should have available to it in a suite. It's not the only thing you should be looking to do. There's some people who may be a direct and specific threat who should actually be in full detention rather than just being tagged. Exactly the same as what the police would do with people they're looking to tag. But it's something that should be there. It would require a legal change. It was actually the Information Commissioner of all people who objected the last time. But it's something that I think should be there, and I can understand why Katie Bourne is calling for it.
So, Fahima, I understand that you think we should not tag asylum seekers and illegal immigrants. We have obviously had some quite high-profile cases recently, including two Afghan, men slash on the cusp of being men, I suppose you could say, 17, 18 years old, who raped a girl in a park. It's one of many cases. I suppose the thinking is that if they'd have been tagged, then we might have known where they were. They might have deterred them from doing something like that.
That could be the case, but then we could say that about most people living generally, that, criminal acts wouldn't happen if we were all monitored in a blanket form. And tagging is limited because the law recognizes a simple truth. You don't treat civil cases like criminal ones. And tagging is a criminal justice power, not a default immigration tool. So electronic monitoring in the UK is designed for convicted offenders, people on bail, individuals assessed as high risk. Asylum seekers are in a civil immigration process, not a criminal one. So tagging someone without a criminal conviction or individual risk sort of assessment is unlawful punishment. And that's British law, which draws very clear between the administration and punishment. Yeah. The tagging does blur that. And even the Home Office doesn't prosecute asylum seekers for illegal entry. That's why this blanket tagging isn't lawful.
OK. It's quite interesting, actually, because I must admit I hadn't thought about that, but it just made me think that when Labour came into power and they scrapped aspects of the illegal migration bill, which would have made it genuinely illegal to break into Britain like that, that might have allowed us to have tagged them. But Kevin, if what Fahima says is correct, basically, which is that it's a human rights issue, essentially it's a legal issue, it would contravene the human rights of these illegal migrants if we tagged them. I would just ask you, what about the rights of the British Army families, mostly wives and children, who are going to be left alone at this barracks in Inverness, accompanied now, not by their husbands who are in and around this barracks, but by about 300 young men from the Middle East and North Africa?
Yeah, absolutely, Patrick. And to be clear, the Immigration Act 1971, I think Section 24, does make it actually a criminal offence to enter the UK when you know you haven't got leave to do so. And whilst it's just been touched on, the Home Office doesn't innately prosecute people for that who arrive and claim asylum. It would be an option to start doing so. So there isn't that sort of this is purely a civil argument about what your status is versus criminal behaviour. And yeah, as you've touched on, there are some highly sensitive locations. We've seen also the debates around the barracks in Sussex as well, where large numbers of people, and actually that barracks has a lot of cadet units that use it. Those units are likely to have to be relocated because of having the space used and barracks used for asylum accommodation because of some obvious safeguarding risks. Even if it was 600 UK men, you'd have to question putting single guys all on a base where lots of kids are using it. So there is that ability to have an extra safeguard, and I don't see why it shouldn't be in the Home Office still. But yes, it would require a legal change. The one thing we would have to say.
All right, Fahima, final word to you on this. Look, I'm just going to say this. If I'd just come to a country, whatever means it was, in this case, I suppose illegally or whatever, and I was up for asylum. I was waiting for asylum. I'd want to be on my best behaviour. And if they said to me that the price you have to pay for a British passport and life in Britain is that for 6 months, a year, you have to wear a tag so that we know where you are as a condition of it, well, I wouldn't be planning on doing anything wrong in that, certainly not in that 6 months or a year anyway, so it wouldn't really bother me. So why should it bother them?
Well, studies from the UK, US and the EU shows that electronic tagging does not significantly improve compliance for non-criminal population, and compliance rates for asylum seekers are already high when legal advice and accommodation are stable. So the real driver of basically is delay and uncertainty, not lack of surveillance. You don't fix a broken system by adding ankle monitors. You need to basically have faster asylum decisions, mandatory reporting and caseworking, stable stable accommodation, you know, tagging only is for high-risk individuals. Enforcement focuses on traffickers for criminal networks, not families waiting for a decision, regardless of how you want to frame them as just young men. These are still people that needs to be processed by the rule of law. And that's the only way to do that quickly will make those kind of like, you know, assessments better and safer for all of us.
All right, well, there we go. A good head-to-head there. Thank you very much. Political commentator Fahim Mohammed, former Immigration Minister Kevin Foster. Very keen to see what you guys are saying at home or listening on the radio, whatever you're doing there. Do you think we should be tagging these illegal migrants? A Home Office spokesperson has said, we are furious at the level of illegal migrants in asylum hotels. This government will close every asylum hotel. Work is well underway, with more suitable sites being brought forward to ease pressure on communities and cut asylum costs. We're working closely with local authorities, property partners and across government so that we can accelerate delivery. I just want to raise one line here for you, by the way, sorry, just before we move on, about the fact that these people in Inverness, the wives and children of serving military personnel are now potentially going to be left alongside these 300 blokes. Would you leave? Would you leave to go and be deployed somewhere, you know, I don't know, wherever, in Estonia or wherever it is, in Germany, say, and leave your wife and child? What a way to treat people who are willing to lose their lives for this country, that you would just dump a load of people from the Middle East and North Africa, we don't really know who they are, right next to their wife and kids whilst they're out of the country. I think that's pretty rum, isn't it, really? But anyway, coming up, Ed Miliband has got an ambitious new plan. Yes, you're not going to want to miss that, but you can't miss it because it's going to cost you a load of money. But up next, British foreign aid has been sent to Kenya. All right, well done. You've sent the money. Well, thank you. And they've used that money to create an AI-powered sex chatbot for teenagers. We're going to talk about that next.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Whilst there's plenty of dry and bright weather across the UK at the moment, it's a different story around southern Europe. There's some rain sweeping its way towards Madeira and towards the Canary Islands through the next couple of days. It's wet across southern parts of Spain and northern Morocco. Some thundery rain likely again as we go through later this week. And further east, also some outbreaks of rain affecting parts of Greece and towards Cyprus. And some of these could be heavy and thundery at times. More changeable weather to come as we head into the new year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, very good evening to you. I'm here with your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Now, as we head into the last day of 2025, there's going to be a lot of dry, a lot of clear weather around, but it is also going to be cold with a harsh frost for many of us as well. That's because high pressure firmly in control across much of the country. I say much of the country because there is a front pushing into Orkney and Shetland, bringing blustery winds and also a few outbreaks of showery rain here. Elsewhere, a dry night for most of us, apart from one or two showers across some eastern, southeastern parts of England, and lots of clear sky. With that clear sky, temperatures plummeting, widely dropping a bit below freezing. In fact, in some places, could get as low as -7, -8 Celsius, so a harsh frost here. Also watch out for some fog, some freezing fog perhaps across some southern parts, which could take a little bit of time to clear as we go through New Year's Eve. Otherwise, it's looking largely fine and bright for many places, particularly towards the south, but later on tomorrow, we are going to see a bit more cloud and some showery outbreaks of rain pushing into parts of Scotland. It is going to be a chilly day with temperatures again a little bit below average for the time of year. Now, as we head through the evening tomorrow, and we're going to continue to see more cloud, more showery outbreaks of mostly rain pushing their way across parts of Scotland. As we head towards midnight itself, well, that's when those showers are going to become increasingly frequent, perhaps heavier. We're going to see the winds strengthening as well, and more likely to see some sleet and snow mixed in with them, particularly across northern parts of Scotland and over higher ground. Also, a chance of some of that showery rain pushing into parts of Northern Ireland and the far north of England, but further south, the central southern parts of England and Wales, it's staying dry. Clearer skies towards the south, allowing again for a frost and also some fog patches in a few places. As we go through the beginning of the new year, well, it is going to turn increasingly cold and a risk of snow pushing its way southwards. Bye-bye.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. If you thought that things just couldn't get any more bizarre, just listen to this. In Kenya, an AI-powered sex chatbot was developed using funds from a UK aid programme intended to finance radical tech solutions in developing countries. So you've paid for this. The creators said the app was meant to encourage the use of contraception, with Kenya, obviously, having the third largest HIV epidemic in the world. However, the app, the sex bot, acted more as a digital sex guru, according to reviews. Popular services included suggestions for sexual activities couples could actually try in bed, or advice on how to communicate during sex. It even offers help to all the single people out there, detailing the various types of self-pleasure. Yeah, so again, you've paid for this. £41 million of British taxpayers' money, as I understand it, has gone on a Kenyan sex bot. And to make matters even worse, it did refer some 1,900 people to a sexual health clinic, which is the main point of this. Do you know how many people turned up to their appointments, apparently? None. So that's money well spent. Joining me now is the media campaign manager of the Taxpayers Alliance, William Yarwood. William, well, how do you feel about the fact that your hard-earned money has funded a Kenyan sex bot?
Yeah, I'm not thrilled personally, Patrick. As funny as this may be, this is actually quite a serious example of foreign aid waste. And you mentioned how no one had been actually gone to the sex clinic, which was the whole point of this app. The worst part of this is that academics, when they studied this afterwards, found that it had no real concrete results, and actually it found it did very little to improve sexual health at all. And yes, this is part of an overall scheme called Ideas for Impact, which, as you said earlier, is to invest in radical technology solutions in the developing world. And this includes this chatbot, but also includes contraceptive vending machines in Nairobi and the like. And the real question here, Patrick, is why is any of this the concern of the British taxpayer? And why is it any concern of the British government to do any of this when we've got so many problems at home?
Yeah, well, 100%. I mean, I think that if it all goes south here for me, what I'd do is I'd move to a third world country and I'd come up with the maddest idea ever, like, hey, I want to build a motorway through a rainforest, and I'd go to the British government and say, bit of foreign aid? And then all of a sudden, before you know it, we've got tens of millions of pounds, mate. I mean, you know, the last budget, what was it? Rachel Reeves saying, I am asking everyone to pay a bit more. Right. Well, I don't really want to pay any more for a Kenyan sex robot.
Yeah, quite right. And look, Patrick, if that doesn't work out for you, you can always get on a small boat and come back over here and claim asylum anyway. Classic. And get in a 5-star hotel. But look, you've hit the nail on the head there. It's like why Rachel Reeves said in that miserable speech before the budget, saying, oh, we're going to ask people to pay a little bit more, hinting at an income tax hike. And then, of course, not actually doing like a smorgasbord of different tax hikes, whether it's, income tax hike threshold freezes and hikes on alcohol duty and the like. And the thing that British taxpayers are constantly being asked is, you know, can we have a little bit more, please? But then they see things like this being funded with their money, and they think, yeah, why on earth am I actually paying for any of this at all? And this goes to the heart of the issue in Britain more broadly today. I think there is a disconnect and a break in the social contract between taxpayers and the state, in the sense that taxpayers pay into a system and they expect public services to work, they expect their money to be used reliably and efficiently, and every single time when they see stories like this, they're scratching their heads and wondering why on earth they're paying taxes while they see public services collapsing, while they see the NHS not working, while they see various things that used to work in this country just on their knees. Why on earth are they funding Kenyan sex bots? Well, in my opinion, Patrick, they shouldn't not only not be funding Kenyan sex bots, they shouldn't be funding foreign aid at all.
Yeah, and this is, it's also the lack of opportunity in Britain. So the job market has reduced by 12.3%. The number of graduate jobs has halved in the last year or so. So you can see the way that we're going economically. You know, it's not like we don't have big problems at home, which is what you're alluding to about public services, etc. We have massive problems here. People are being taxed at the highest rate ever since World War II, possibly even out surpassing that, actually. And on top of that, then we see that they've got these bonkers foreign aid projects. We've had that road to nowhere in Guyana that stripped through the rainforest there. We've had sex education classes in Pakistan. But the fact is with this, is that it seems to me like it's not only just the splurging of money that we don't have, it's the lack of follow-up for any kind of result for that money at all. So at no point does it appear that anyone has checked in with the Kenyan sex bot and seen how it's getting on, because it's actually not only not had an impact in terms of the number of people going to an STD clinic, which appears to be a big fat zero. If anything, it's probably had the opposite effect, because it is acting as a sex guru. It's telling people, teenagers may I add in Kenya, how to have more sex, how to have quotes unquote better sex, and if they can't find anyone to have sex with, it's telling them how they can do it on their own. And I'm sorry, I think that's probably the opposite effect that it's supposed to be having, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And to make matters worse, Patrick, this Ideas to Impact programme actually won a civil service award for innovation and was seen as such a success.
No, I've had enough. I'll see you in a bit, mate. Take care.
It received a 5-year extension. He's gone. It received a 5-year extension. And it's on course to be completed next year. And you mentioned the Pakistan thing earlier. Yeah, I mean, that was the Taxpayers Alliance investigation. £88 million being spent in foreign aid to Pakistan to encourage the use of contraceptives. Again, why is this the concern of the British government? Why is this the concern of British taxpayers? I mean, you mentioned, obviously, we've got, well, I mentioned earlier, we've got problems in terms of public services. We've got a large budget deficit. Our national debt is £2.7 trillion. The government consistently borrows more and more money every single month. Yeah. Why on earth are we not looking at cutting some of the waste out of the system? And my main gripe is that actually we could start pretty easily with foreign aid. It wouldn't solve everything, Patrick. You know, foreign aid budget is about 14 billion. It wouldn't solve everything. But you know what, Patrick? It would be a damn good start. It's
a statement of intent as well. It's a statement of intent, you know, all this. We hear a lot about principles in this country. Principles we're supposed to have. That could be one, you know, until we've sorted out our own mess. So just to clarify, sorry, very quickly. So it won an award. This is an award-winning Kenyan sex chatbot.
Yeah.
Lovely stuff, great stuff.
Yeah, the programme more broadly is an award-winning one, because they've had also other schemes which maybe aren't as crazy, like, you know, teaching AI literacy, or, you know, improving water quality, or apps for farmers. But again, there's a principle here, is that is not the duty of the British state at all.
All right, William, take care. Great to see you. All the best, and all the best for the year ahead as well, 2026. It's going to be your year, mate. William Yarwood there is the media campaigns manager of the Taxpayers Alliance. Well, a Foreign Office spokesperson has been on. They say the current government has made clear that it is determined to deliver value for money for the taxpayer across the development budget. OK, sorry, straight face. Straight face. Coming up, a huge story for you at 10 p.m. Very serious story, actually. So it appears that what many people would regard as being a radical Islamic preacher is on his way to Britain. So will the government ban him? But first...
It is cake. And not just any cake, it's solar-powered cake.
Yeah, Ed Miliband is now pushing forward with an ambitious and expensive plan to cost you more money. I'll reveal what it is next.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christys here to GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News, anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. So, Ed Miliband is cooking up a £13 billion green energy plan offering grants for solar panels and heat pumps. Now, the Energy Secretary is set to offer financial incentives across millions of households over the next 4 years, hoping to increase the uptake of rooftop solar and efficient heating. Now, if it all goes to plan, some lucky homeowners could see their energy shrink so dramatically that they'll pay little or no money towards their power bills. That's the theory anyway. Labour previously promised that its push for clean power by 2030 would trim around £300 off the average energy bill. The last time I checked, though, I do think your energy bills have gone up at least twice since they made that promise, but there we go. Joining us now is the leader of the Climate Party, Ad Gemmell. Ad, great to have you. Thank you very much. So, this is not free money, is it? This 13 billion quid is taxpayers' money.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, we're now at the sort of early stages. This is something that was already talked about back in June. Yeah. So it's not absolutely new news or anything else. We thought it was coming. It just looks like it's going to be confirmed at the moment, and we'll have full details in the next couple of months. So 13 billion on the Warm Homes Plan. Money's already being spent on that plan in various different areas at the moment. So the boiler upgrade scheme, the local grant scheme connected with it and everything else. So it's not something that wasn't expected. We'd always expected it. I do agree. I don't know where the money's coming from at the moment. I don't know which pocket it's being taken out of or where it's going to come from, because we haven't had the details of it yet.
OK, so 13 billion quid. Ed Miliband is already the most expensive policymaker in British history, so it's par for the course. What's another 13 bill for Ed? But will it actually work is the other thing. So how many homes, I don't expect you to know the exact figures on this, but how many homes in Britain would have to have these solar panels and these heat pumps before it actually made the kind of impact that Ed Miliband wants?
Well, I think if you're looking at, if you get a million homes in, you're starting to look at, and then you're reducing their bills down to zero. Which is a big claim. It's possible if you're doing terraced houses, rows of 10, flats and that sort of thing. I mean, it is possible, you know. And in fact, just a bit of background, in my spare time, I happen to be leading a feasibility study at the moment to retrofit 3,500 homes and try and get them down to zero bills and zero usage of energy from the grid. So it is theoretically possible. That's the first thing. You're probably reducing the usage on the grid by perhaps half to 1 gigawatt if you've got about 1 million houses, something like that. They're talking about 5 million. I'm assuming that's because within this you're going to have houses that have much smaller interventions and won't be getting to, you know, zero bills or anything like that. But they'll be moving forward, they'll be decarbonising and their bills will be coming down. It just won't be zero.
OK. So, if I don't want one of these solar panels or one of these heat pumps, I am going to end up paying for my neighbour if he or she wants one.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're now at the point, though, where you're going to want it, particularly if the government is going to be helping you to get there by subsidising what you're doing, potentially paying for it if you have no money at all, but subsidising it if you're moving up. We don't know the details yet, as I say, so we'll wait and see how it happens. But the technology is getting better and better and better. I mean, heat pumps at the moment, we've been talking about the fact that they may be 3 times more efficient than what you'd be using with your gas, and now they're approaching 5 or 6 times. They're also starting to be able to be efficient when they get down to -5, even potentially -10 degrees, so that we're getting to the point where the technology is becoming very, very good.
OK. If we had some of these solar panels on the top of my block of flats or something like that now, and we have a bad summer followed by just winter where it's a bit grey, do those solar panels still serve a function, or will I have a fallow year where I have to pay my energy bills to OVO or someone?
Right. All the tech's getting better. You know, I mean, we've got companies in the UK as well, Oxford PV and others, working on 2nd and 3rd generation solar panels that are getting better and better when you don't have the full sun shining. So the products are getting better. Every year it's better. Absolutely, though, if you're not getting full sunshine, you're not going to get as much as you would do otherwise. Right. So it does rely. Obviously, it does very much rely on the weather, then, basically. Yeah, I mean, it does. I mean, look, we've been looking into it also because we have houses that are shaded. You know, there's trees that have grown and they're shading them for large parts of the year. And if it's a normal deciduous tree, then it's got its leaves on in the summer and it doesn't have in the winter. In the winter, you get less sun, and in the summer, you've got a bit of shade. They can still work. They're just wildly less efficient.
OK. And the thinking is that this would take the pressure off the grid, which would mean as more people do things like electric vehicles, that would mean that more people can charge them?
Yeah, I mean, pressure's going on the grid because of AI, clearly, as well as personal consumption and that sort of thing. So AI is, you know, data centres are pushing up consumption a lot at the moment and are probably currently driving it more than private consumption. Having said that, we've got electric vehicles coming, but we're starting to see the tech where your electric vehicle can also serve in balancing the grid. So potentially, and with certain of the cars, I couldn't name it straight away now, but they're coming at a point where simply by some tech upgrades in your car can become a battery that services your home as well as takes it from the grid.
Well, I mean, that would be the dream. I mean, when it comes to Ed Miliband, though, well, I mean, I've obviously asked you a series of questions on this, you know, about where's this money coming from, what are the time frames, realistically, how many homes you need. See, we don't ever end up finding any of that out from Ed Miliband because he very rarely, if ever, does interviews. But he's perfectly happy to spend 13 billion quid of our cash.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, excuse me. That's right. Let's just get the 13 billion into perspective a little bit, I think. I mean, we're paying 9 to 10 billion pounds a month interest payment on our national debt. Okay. I know it's a lot of money, I'm not excusing that, but then let's get it into perspective. And the next bit is it's actually going to be helping our industry to move ahead and move beyond what's happening in other countries.
OK. All right. Thank you very much. Great to have you on, and I wish you all the very best for the year ahead as well, 2026. Right, we have been on to the Department for Energy Security and Net Zero. They do say they're investing an extra £1.5 billion into the warm home plans, taking it to nearly 15 billion. Oh, great, fantastic. So there you go. They're doubling down on their support for home upgrades. They want to help support households and obviously get us to net zero as quickly as possible. Now, next, big story this. A radical Islamic preacher is currently, we believe anyway, on his way to Britain. Will the government stop him?
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, very good evening to you. I'm here with your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Now, as we head into the last day of 2025, there's going to be a lot of dry, a lot of clear weather around, but it is also going to be cold with a harsh frost for many of us as well. That's because high pressure firmly in control across much of the country. I say much of the country because there is a front pushing into Orkney and Shetland, bringing blustery winds and also a few outbreaks of showery rain here. Elsewhere, a dry night for most of us, apart from one or two showers across some eastern, southeastern parts of England, and lots of clear sky. With that clear sky, temperatures plummeting, widely dropping a bit below freezing. In fact, in some places, could get as low as -7, -8 Celsius, so a harsh frost here. Also, watch out for some fog, some freezing fog perhaps across some southern parts, which could take a little bit of time to clear as we go through New Year's Eve. Otherwise, it's looking largely fine and bright for many places, particularly towards the south, but later on tomorrow, we are going to see a bit more cloud and some showery outbreaks of rain pushing into parts of Scotland. It is going to be a chilly day with temperatures again a little bit below average for the time of year. Now, as we head through the evening tomorrow, and we're going to continue to see more cloud, more showery outbreaks of mostly rain pushing their way across parts of Scotland. As we head towards midnight itself, well, that's when those showers are going to become increasingly frequent, perhaps heavier. We're going to see the winds strengthening as well, and more likely to see some sleet and snow mixed in with them, particularly across northern parts of Scotland and over higher ground. Also, a chance of some of that showery rain pushing into parts of Northern Ireland and the far north of England, but further south, the central southern parts of England and Wales, it's staying dry. Clearer skies towards the south, allowing again for a frost and also some fog patches in a few places. As we go through the beginning of the new year, well, it is going to turn increasingly cold and a risk of snow pushing its way southwards. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
We want to make the new year your best year yet, with a chance to win our greatest cash prize to date. A simply stunning £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Treat the family to that bucket list holiday you've always fancied. Get your dream car you've always wanted. Or just relax, safe in the knowledge that the coming year is on us. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point.
Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised. I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 10 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight,
show me a Palestinian who says that we should have not done anything to Israel.
Well, what many people might regard as a radical Islamic preacher is on his way to Britain. So will the government ban him? And
Allah is clearly a very, very important, probably the most important activist and pro-democracy campaigner in his region. And he's also a very, very fine writer.
Well, that's just Andrew Marr there being completely taken in by the Egyptian extremist Al-Fattah. But should we deport his sister too? She praised the Hamas October the 7th attacks. I'm expecting even more catastrophic detail in the front pages when we get them at 10:30. In other news,
I did have to increase taxes yesterday, but I've kept them to an absolute minimum on ordinary working people.
Feeling a little bit skint after Christmas? Maybe you are. Well, £41 million worth of taxpayers' money has gone to fund a Kenyan sex chatbot. Good for you. Also,
it is cake. And not just any cake, it's solar-powered cake.
Oh, God. Anyway, Ed Miliband has a new plan to waste a load more money. And should we tag asylum seekers so we know where they are at all times? It comes as we are about to move about 300 of them next door to British military wives and children. On my panel tonight, we have got GB News contributor Will Kingston, political commentator Andy Twelves, and another GB News contributor, Connie Shaw. And I'll tell you why the police have ruined this. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Well, should the government ban a radical Islamic preacher who is on his way to Britain? That's next, but let me just give you a cheeky front page preview for now, because the front pages are dropping as we speak. And on the Daily Telegraph's front cover, they've got that former SAS commanders are telling this Labour government that they are about to wreck the special forces. Pretty damning stuff. Good evening. Will this Labour government allow what many people regard as a radical Islamic preacher to come to the UK in the coming days? Dr. Shadi El-Masri is due to be doing speaking events in Birmingham, Bolton and Ilford on the 4th, 5th and 6th of January. Now, he described the October 7th massacre by Hamas, saying, "The people of Gaza finally punched back." You can see his full tweet on the screen there. He also seems to indicate that Hamas, of course a banned terrorist organisation in the UK, has a morality to their resistance. So what does that mean? Does that mean that Hamas are morally good? He also appears to have made quite a bizarre claim, we assume, again, he's talking about Hamas here, and how they tried not to hurt any civilians.
And one person from H group was blamed to say, okay, but you killed some innocent people in this thing. And the answer to that is, well, the way he answered it, at least, he said that, well, we tried not to, right? We tried not to, but it happened. And it may happen. But you also, why are you telling us this? Because they do the same thing and have been doing the same thing from 1948.
Do we need to remind ourselves about the actions of Hamas on October the 7th especially? What you're looking at there is the aftermath of that devastating attack that they did on the music festival in Israel. I mean, just look at that. So there's the argument there that they tried not to hurt any civilians. I mean, isn't that literally the opposite of what happened? But he also seems to deny that Hamas treated the hostages terribly. I mean, look, we all know that Hamas raped hostages, they starved them, they killed them, etc. But I mean, here is the man who could be doing a speaking tour of the UK next week.
Danielle and Amelia's letter. Supposedly, it's written here there is a Hebrew letter written. Of course, nobody knows what's true and what's false these days. I would like to think it's true, but then again, there are many ways to argue against this, say that it was written in duress, what have you. What do you believe about the letter? And for those of you who aren't aware of it, 2 hostages, Danielle and Amelia. Danielle is a mom, and Amelia is the daughter. And they supposedly wrote a letter to Hamas before they left. And it's in Hebrew, and it's dated November the 23rd. And it says, "To the generals who accompanied me in the past few weeks, it seems we will part ways tomorrow. I sincerely thank you from the depths of my heart for your extraordinary humanity shown towards my daughter, Amelia. You've treated her like parents, inviting her to your rooms, making her feel that you're not just friends, but true caring loved ones. Thank you for the countless hours you spent as caregivers. Thanks for being patient with her, indulging her in sweets and fruits, and providing everything even when it wasn't readily available."
Pretty grim, I think, that, to be honest with you. He also says something that will come as a hammer blow for all of those people saying that we should allow Gazan refugees into Britain because they're not responsible for what Hamas did. They don't really like Hamas. He claims he's never seen a Palestinian condemning what Hamas did.
Let's ask a simple question. Show me a Palestinian who says that we should have not done anything to Israel. Show me one person in Gaza who has lost or hasn't lost, or they all have lost everything. Homes, relatives. Show me one who is against what's happening here and who blames Hamas for what his enemies have done. When Allah Ta'ala tells us, لِيَغِيظَ بِهِمُ الْكُفَّارِ, to antagonize your enemy. Why did Allah say to antagonize your enemy? Because when they're antagonized, they don't behave properly.
Right, well, there you go. I mean, he seems to defend what appears to be the execution of what he regards as bad Muslims or apostates.
It's quality control. We need quality control in our ummah. Such people are very dangerous, right? They know the ins and outs of Islam, and they could now start pulling people. They're malignant, right? What is the benign apostate? The apostate who keeps his apostasy to himself. We don't know it. He doesn't announce it. So he's benign. So we don't know it. So we can't punish him.
He also talks about slavery under Sharia law.
I asked my Sheikh Mahmoud Shabib, what would be the conditions in which slavery, criminals of war, or prisoners of war, slavery, concubinage would ever come back to the world? He said, when the kuffar bring it back. This was not something that the world was neutral and Islam introduced it to the world. It already existed in the world. It was the way of the world. And the Sharia then gave it some rules, okay? Trimmed it as always. Gave it some rules, tamed it. It's not something that the Sharia came down, oh, humanity, look the beautiful thing that we gave you now. Slavery and prisoners of war and concubines. It's not how it was. It was already in the world, and the Sharia came with rules for it.
And just to round things off, he's also posted about how homosexuality could be punishable by death. Meanwhile, there is ongoing controversy, of course, about a man who posted anti-Semitic, racist, extremist content online from Egypt being allowed into Britain. The current Labour government, who supported his release, won't deport him. OK? They will not deport him. That is, of course, Al-Fattah, who's been all over the news recently. Well, today, now, they might be about to let that guy in, the preacher that we've just been speaking about, so he can spread his views around the UK. I mean, Shabana Mahmood just needs to stop him coming to Britain, surely. But will she? That's the question. Will she stop him coming and preaching in Birmingham and Bolton and Ilford? And I ask you, whose side are this government on? Now, in the last hour, we went to the Home Office. We went to the Home Office ages ago. We've heard from them in the last hour because we said to them, are you going to stop this guy? Are you going to block him from coming? And they have said, there is no place in the UK for foreign nationals who spread hate or push extremist ideas. Anyone intent on stirring hatred or dividing our communities will not be granted a visa. Well, the clock's ticking, I'm afraid, because I think he's Is he due in Bolton on the 5th? I think so. Yeah, better get your skates on, Shabana Mahmood. Anyway, let's get the thoughts of my panel. GBNews contributor Will Kingston, political commentator Andy Twelves, and the other GBNews contributor, Connie Shaw. Right, Will, so... should the Home Office block this guy from coming to Britain?
Yeah, of course they should. That was a really helpful addition from the Home Office there. Yeah. Look, I can, Connie works for the Free Speech Union. I'm a near free speech absolutist. So let's just preemptively knock down any whines from the left that, oh, shouldn't you guys be supporting free speech? This has nothing to do with free speech, because the classical view of free speech is you get dangerous ideas out in the public, you then debate them, and the truth emerges through that debate. There's going to be no intent for any debate or discussion when this guy arrives. I notice at least one of the 3 events is invitation only. The other 2 events will no doubt be from people who thoroughly support him. This isn't a Charlie Kirk type figure who's going to go out into the open, discuss, hear the other point of view and then debate. This is going to be an exercise, I would imagine, I'm not alleging, but it is very possible, an exercise in radicalisation.
Right.
Now, that is not a free speech issue. That is a completely separate kettle of fish, and as a result of that, this guy shouldn't be allowed anywhere near this country.
Just a question to you, really, Connie. Do you think the Home Office should make a point out of this, especially in light of course, the recent events, which has been all over the news with Al-Fattah and his sister as well? Should they make a statement here and block this guy?
Absolutely. How can Keir Starmer claim that he's fighting against anti-Semitism, yet still allow someone like this to come? And as I was going to say as well, one of these events is invitation only. It'd be good to know who he's inviting to this event. I think those people should be being watched, frankly. And also the fact, the other 2 aren't invited, but who is choosing to go to these events? I think there should be investigations into who's choosing to go to these events. This argument about, we were saying earlier how the free speech argument, countries should have the right to choose who he's allowed to say those things, just not here. If America want to allow him to say those things, fine. He's not a British citizen. We're allowed to keep him outside of the country. I mean, it was the Premier of New South Wales very recently who literally said we cannot have free speech because we need to uphold multiculturalism. And this is the issue. If we continue tolerating intolerant people, what's going to happen is that the intolerant people are going to get rid of all of the tolerance, and then we'll just be left with intolerance. So we cannot continue allowing this. And unfortunately, again, it's a difficult free speech issue, but we cannot allow these ideas to continue being festered. We have to at some point, protect ourselves.
Yeah, I don't know if we might be able to bring up... So it was the first lot of tweets that he had, the ones about Hamas there, really, where he appeared to indicate that they were basically morally justified, I think, for some of the things. Just quickly, sorry. Can we bring them up? Is that all right? Yeah. So he's basically said, yeah, so let me just make sure we get these. So he said, yeah, look at the shock of the people in Gaza finally punched back. He said, there's a morality of their resistance there. But
can I ask you a question on this? And Connie, would your answer change if he was coming to do, say, a public debate with Douglas Murray, who would take the opposing view?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, I think it would.
Yeah. And I think my view would change as well. I think part of this is that I think the intent is to radicalise. It is not to actually debate and come to some deeper truth.
All right. Well, let's put that to you directly. So the big claim there is that in Will's view, that this is an attempt at radicalisation. So firstly, do you agree with that? Secondly, Hamas is a banned terrorist organisation in this country. If he is sympathetic towards them, should that not block him just on its own, do you think?
So on the first point, I mean, I have to admit, I'm not an Islamic fundamentalist, so I wasn't familiar with this gentleman before this evening's show. I mean, from the clips that you've shown and the tweets that you've shown, he certainly seems like a wrong 'un. Obviously, I haven't watched beyond that, but he certainly seems like he's not here to do any particular good for anyone. I think on the second point, wrong 'un. I think he probably shouldn't be given a visa, and by the sounds of it, the Home Office don't either. I think they have a policy on not commenting on specific cases, as you could imagine. But I'm sure that if Shabana Mahmood saw that, she wouldn't be too pleased. And if I can't imagine it's a policy of the Labour government to let in nutters. To be honest.
I mean, it's well, you'd have thought so, but alas. But we are in a situation where we are now. What are we? 5-6 days away from his first talk. And
I mean, has he been granted a visa? Do we have confirmation of that?
We don't.
Because I could knock up a Canva graphic saying I'm going to Texas to go and talk about trade unionism. I don't have an American visa. Do you know what I mean? Has he been granted a visa?
Just for a bit of context on that. So, and we're going to actually hear from there is a charity group that is organising this. right? And we've got a statement from them which we'll come to on that. So the charity group is organising it, so they are also advertising it. And it is also seen as a fundraising event. So it would be pretty weird if you're advertising something and then you're going to cancel it with 5 days' notice. But this is the latest in quite a long line of what many people would regard as radical Islamic preachers who have attempted to come to Britain. And it was earlier this year that actually, through the work that Charlie Peters did, and we also did something on this show, we got the Home Office to ban a bloke who, believe it or not, did actually say much worse stuff than that guy. We got them to ban him and block him. But the problem for me is the amount of people who want to go and see them.
Yeah.
They queue up. They want to go and see them. And that points to a bigger problem in Britain for me, I think.
Yeah, it does. So you can have, say, Islamic lobbies or their PR spin doctors who will say the right things in the wake of atrocities like Bondi or Manchester, for example. But that doesn't change the fact that the substrata, or maybe a better way of saying it, there are still a lot of radical preachers in mosques across this country that are saying behind the closed doors of the mosque radical and anti-Western things, despite the fact that the PR coming out may sound more tolerable. That's a real concern, and I fear they are the types of people who would be running those mosques in those areas, who would be going to these events basically to get their next script.
I don't think there's any other aspects of society, Connie, where we would be so hands-off when it comes to this kind of stuff. You know, if people thought that, you know, I was hosting far-right rallies around at my house, or I was having these people coming round and inviting people around, the police would be all over it like a rash. Whereas I think there are big problems when it comes to what is being said in mosques quite generally. And we know this from the Daily Mail did a fantastic expose of several different mosques in the wake of the October 7th attacks. Well, people are being taught all sorts of stuff. I mean, some of it is like quite comical, like, oh, if you listen to music, then you're going to become gay, and you're going to end up with a rainbow hair. I mean, you just think, like, what kind of absolute nutter was... So there's that, but there is obviously very dangerous stuff as well. And you see preachers like this guy coming, I just think, why are we so standoffish when it comes to going round and saying, actually, we are going to have a look at what's being said in these places?
We're not just standoffish, Patrick. We are, this government in particular, but as a state, we have protected extremists. We now have blasphemy laws coming through the front door, not just the back door. Obviously, Hamit Koskin, the Turkish asylum seeker who burnt the copy of the Quran outside the Turkish consulate in protest, he was originally convicted under a Public Order Act, and the Free Speech Union appealed and won his case. The CPS now want to try and prosecute him again to try and overturn that. That is literally through the front door. Obviously, we have the Islamophobia definition that the government is still trying to come up with. They've tried to keep that extremely secret. And obviously, one of the most recent, the most recent case of this sort of safeguarding dossier that we have at the FSU of a teacher who was sacked by a secular school because a parent complained about him for saying to teaching Muslim students about religious tolerance. That it was a primary school where children, girls who weren't wearing hijabs or head coverings were being mocked, and other students who weren't fasting as the same as the others were being teased. Like, we are actively protecting Islam as an ideology.
Just final words to you on this. We mentioned the Islamophobia definition there. I mean, look, in a nutshell, the clock is ticking for Shabana Mahmood. We would hope, I think most people watching this, and as it turns out, everyone on this panel actually is of the view that this guy probably shouldn't come to Britain, and that is within the purview of this government. So we do hope that the Labour government announces in the coming days that this guy is not coming to Britain. I think it would be a massive oversight if they let him. But as Connie was saying there, is this exact story the reason why we should not have this updated Islamophobia definition? Because my concern would be that basically this conversation that we've just had now, me highlighting to the nation that I think that a pretty radical guy is about to set foot in Britain, do a tour of Britain, spread his stuff all over the country. I don't think I'd be allowed to do this if we had an Islamophobia definition like the one that we...
I think you would. It's been changed from Islamophobia to anti-Muslim hatred, which I think is a more appropriate term. I think there is worth in words. I think, in anti-Semitism we have an internationally accepted definition. It was adopted by the Labour Party when Keir Starmer became leader. I think we should have, an accepted international or national definition of anti-Muslim hatred or anti-Buddhist, because I think it defines it extremely well. I think it defines it defines it legally. Why would we? Why do we need? It's constantly changing.
Absolutely skyrocketed far beyond what Islamophobia has.
Well, I haven't seen these. I don't think we should be really comparing. Oh well, it's worse anti-Semitism, worse Islamophobia. I think both of them are bad, and we should have.
Of course. Well, we already have the definition.
But if we've got the definition, if we've got a definition, we've got a clear legal definition.
It's not a legal definition.
It will be. It will be accepted by the government and used legally.
The whole point of the Islamophobia definition is the fact that it's non-statutory. That's why we're wondering.
But it will be an accepted definition. It will be an accepted definition.
But it's not legally binding.
We should have it. Neither is the International Holocaust Charity's definition of anti-Semitism. But it's still extremely useful.
Just very finally, sorry, because I know we're going to move on. I need to read a couple of statements out here, as you would imagine. But Will, just quickly on something. One of the standout lines for me in that was him, proud as punch, bold as brass there, saying he's not seen a single Palestinian who's condemned the actions of Hamas. And I just thought that was a bit of a downer, really, for a lot of people who've been calling for Gazan refugees to come to Britain because they're as oppressed as everybody else.
Yeah, well, that's a mask-slipping moment, isn't it, Patrick? And the fact of the matter is that there's been this narrative in Gaza that you have Hamas as the evil guys at the top and then the oppressed Palestinians underneath. And the uncomfortable truth no one wants to actually come to grips with is that the majority of Palestinian people are on the same ideological path that Hamas are on. That's the reality.
All right. Well, there we go. Now, look, we have contacted Dr. Shadi El-Masri directly. We are awaiting a response. Now, we also contacted the Global Relief Fund, which is that charity that I mentioned earlier, which appears to be all organising this tour, really, as far as we can tell. They are obviously named on that poster that we showed you earlier on. Now, they said, we have conducted checks on the speaker and reviewed social media content. We wish to emphasise that any past comments or views expressed are those of the individual and are not associated with the charity. That being said, this is interesting. The speaker is highly respected throughout the Islamic world, and that includes with the majority of Muslims in the UK. The speaker's participation is solely in support of a humanitarian event focused on faith-based talks and helping vulnerable communities. Matters unrelated to this purpose are not connected with the event or the charity. So that's what they've had to say about it. Just quickly as well, we mentioned Al-Fattah there, and again, he said about his tweets, looking at those tweets now, the ones that were not completely twisted out of their meaning, I do understand how shocking and hurtful they are, and for that, I unequivocally apologise. But look, like I said again, the clock is very much ticking. We've highlighted it now, we've brought it into the public sphere. This guy, as far as we can tell, is on his way to Britain in the coming days. Will this Labour government do anything to stop him or not? So, loads more coming, including these front pages, which I'm very excited for. Actually, I think there's a bumper round of front pages en route. But before that, it's the Great British Giveaway, 85 grand in tax-free cash. Here's how you can be in it to win it.
This is your chance to become our biggest cash prize winner to date with an incredible £85,000 to be won. That's right, £85,000 in totally tax-free cash could be making its way from our bank account to yours. It would be like having over £7,000 per month extra to play with each month for a whole year. That could be you, with your feet up, safe in the knowledge that 2026 is on us. £85,000 is a massive amount of money, and it could be yours. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing the 9th of February 2026. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
All right, well, welcome back, everybody. Sorry, just quickly, there was a slight error during one of those prior statements that I read out. I just want to make it very clear that the charity that we mentioned is called the Global Relief Trust, and we read their statement out earlier on, so I want to get that right. Anyway, right, coming up, why have the police ruined this? But first, another police story, actually. Yorkshire Police Chief John Robbins has been mentioned in the New Year's Honours list. But does he deserve it, considering his force's track record, especially when it comes to hiring white recruits? That's next.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
So this is a lovely story because it's about a chap who bought this DB5 and he bought it for 900 quid. This is an Aston Martin DB5.
It's a lovely car.
Bought it for 900 quid. And then for 50 years, pretty much didn't do very much. He moved to the Middle East, car left was on his driveway, things happened, the local kids jumped on it and various other things, and it just decayed. He has spent pretty much the big wodge of 400 grand having it done.
Do we have a picture of this car now?
Oh, I thought as I was waffling. Well, I can hold it up. But this is how it looks now. There we go. This is how it looked then and now. I don't know which.
So he spent 400 grand on this.
400 grand. He sent it back to Aston Martin.
Oh.
To where it was made, and the reason it's worth now about $1 million is because there were only 37, I think,
39
of them made, and so it's very rare. There we go. Well done, him.
Pretty penny on that. Good for him.
Yeah. Yes, and good for him.
He hasn't made it yet.
No, he hasn't made it. It's just worth. I know. He may.
I was reading a story about a man who'd spent £1 million on a DB5, and it's now worth 500,000. But they hit a peak a couple of years ago. But who knows? Who knows?
But don't you want to spend money on a car in order to use it, not to sell it?
Well,
I had a car like that. I drive it.
Yeah, of course. No, then that's what he's not selling it. He's worked hard. He said we've worked hard to get it
it's a work of art.
Reconditioned, and he loves it.
I wonder, does it have machine guns and things they're going
to... Oh, no, weirdly, it says no.
Or an ejector
no ejector seat, exactly. Or any of those other things, yeah.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. So, the King's 2026 New Year's Honours list is out. It landed about this time last night, actually. Now, there's one gong in particular that many people are finding very controversial, and it's Yorkshire Police Chief John Robbins. Now, this is interesting timing. So West Yorkshire Police has had a busy spell of controversies in recent times, from claims that the force blocked white applicants in the name of diversity, to the retired officer who told GB News that he was allegedly threatened after spending 3 months investigating grooming gang abuse in Bradford. Now, all of this comes as West Yorkshire continues to record one of the highest crime rates in the country. Violent crime now accounts for a staggering 42.2% of all offences, up 2.5% on last year. The region has also seen around 4.5 sexual offences per 1,000 people, which is well above the average for England and Wales. So, how's this New Year's Honours list? Has it gone a bit woke? Has it gone a bit pointless? Why have we given this guy a gong? I'm joined now by the former Scotland Yard detective, Mike Neville. Mike, I don't really understand why this bloke has been awarded with a gong when it appears like his police force is underperforming and he's got a track record of being hyper woke. I mean, he's been accused, he denies it, he's been accused of discriminating against white people.
Well, Patrick, what you're doing, you're judging this against the common sense that me and you might believe in and why people get medals. But what you got to imagine is the people who decide this are as woke as this character, because we might be concerned. If you look at the last, they have these inspections in the police called the Peel inspection. And on the last Peel inspection, they had requires improvement investigating crime. Now, that's a basic policing thing.
Requires improvement investigating crime.
But it not just requires improvement, it needs a kick up the backside. They're solving 4.8% of crimes. It is absolutely rubbish. Now, you would think that people would be rewarded for doing their job. And if you look at this, you know, he's obsessed with diversity. So, and it's a cult. This is the problem. Because you know and I know that people in West Yorkshire, whether they're white or black, gay or straight, whatever they are, what male or female, what they want is the police to turn up and help them whenever they need it. They need a good service if they're a victim of crime. They don't care about the sex, sexuality, or colour of the officer who turns up to help them. But these people, like this Robbins guy, they are obsessed with that. They absolutely believe this is a big deal. And this is why the focus of policing has gone away from catching criminals and preventing crime to recruiting people who fit a certain identity politics. It's just utter nonsense.
Yeah, so one of the big controversies involving this chap, right, was that it's one of the UK's large police forces, West Yorkshire Police, and it allegedly prevented white British candidates from applying as recruits in its constable entry programmes because it looked to attract underrepresented groups instead. It wanted to boost diversity. Now, they came back and said, well, we didn't prevent them. What we did is we held their applications, I think in theory, so until they had what they decided as enough applications from ethnic minorities. Bear in mind that area, West Yorkshire, has got a huge Muslim population, huge, and that's what it was. It was positive action, wasn't it? Which I don't think worked, as far as I can tell. So again, this guy has been knighted for that, has he?
Well, Patrick, imagine it was the other way round, and we said, what we're going to do, we're going to get all the white applicants in that we want, and then when we've got enough of them, we'll have a few black ones. It'd be an absolute outrage. But here again, you have a middle-class, university-educated, woke character who just fits the agenda. These are the people who were sort of chief inspectors when Tony Blair was the Prime Minister. And they've followed that agenda all the way through. And this is where we find ourselves. This is why the distraction is there. This is why the police are not catching as many criminals as they should do, because they're looking at other things that they shouldn't be doing.
Well, look, we've done the woke stuff, the idea of this positive discrimination. West Yorkshire Police Force, by the way, has also provided us with quite a lot of amusement in the last year or so, where they've done some of these kind of bespoke addresses specifically to the Muslim community, which has been quite laughable, really. You know, the old shock rant to the brothers, thank you to the community leaders for allowing me to talk to you and all of that stuff. But just dealing with the actual crime, so this is according to the figures I've got in front of me here. In West Yorkshire, robbery increased 9.8% year on year. Drug offences up 8.1%. Violence and sexual offences up 2.5%. So there we go. Those are the headline figures.
Gun crime up.
Gun crime up. Violent crime up 12.5%. Burglary dropped 6.8%. Fantastic. So there you go. That's all right. That's a win, isn't it? But the point there is a lot of crimes that people really do care about is going up. It doesn't seem like the revolutionary success story that I think would allow you to get down on bended knee before the king.
Yeah, well, agreed. And often burglary, when you say it's gone down, what often happens there, if you're poor and you haven't got house insurance, you simply don't bother reporting the thing because... Yeah. Unless most people only report a burglary because they want a crime number. They have no expectation these days that the police will catch the burglar and get their stuff back. And also, if you look at this police, this is the police force where a young teenage girl was arrested for saying to a female officer, "You look like my lesbian nana." This is a sort of nonsense that's going on. And it's just simply not good enough. As you said, gun crime needs to be sorted out. Burglary needs to be sorted out. Robbery needs to be sorted out. But what you have is the people who decide these things, they follow the agenda that he is following. They don't follow the common sense thing that GBNews promotes, and this is where change is needed.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot about that. That was an iconic moment again, wasn't it? Where a young girl, I think, with autism, said that a female police officer, looked like her lesbian nana, and then they tried to arrest her for that.
They did arrest her.
They did arrest her.
This is a real issue, and all this thing it goes down. If you're the senior officer, all these ideas permeate down as to what's important. They set the agenda as to what these officers should be doing, and they're not doing it. But I imagine that Keir Starmer thinks he's the top police officer, and this is the problem.
It speaks volumes about Britain, doesn't it? It speaks volumes about what gets you an award in Britain. And that's that. Anyway, Mike, thank you very much. Always a pleasure. I hope you have a great 2026. See a lot of you in 2026, hopefully, mate. Mike Neville, former Scotland Yard detective. Right, OK, so we have some comments now that I need to read. A statement from West Yorkshire Police, I believe, is going to flick it through. There we go, lovely stuff. A spokesman for West Yorkshire Police said, West Yorkshire Police takes a proactive and unrelenting stance in exploring previous incidents and disclosures relating to non-recent child sexual exploitation abuse. That's their right reply about the fact that, well, there's the claim that they didn't do enough to investigate the grooming gangs. They say that it's been underway over the past decade, resulting in hundreds of perpetrators now serving lengthy prison sentences, totalling thousands of years. Many investigations are still underway, with trials scheduled through 2026. They've also come to us on a separate topic as well, West Yorkshire Police. This is about recruitment, so that the old, you know, are we recruiting white people, are we not? The most recent census... Here we go. Most recent census found that 23% of people in West Yorkshire identified as being from an ethnic minority background. Our current police officer representation from ethnic minority backgrounds is around 9%. To address this underrepresentation, we use positive action. Under the Equality Act 2010, no interviews are held until the window is officially opened to all candidates. The real story there, of course, is why are so few ethnic minorities joining the police force? But anyway, they've also gone to us on crime figures. They say that we record a high number of offences compared to other forces, which presumably is why their crime stats are up, reflecting its outstanding crime recording rating, yay, which cited that the force as a national case study. Accurate crime recording is central to supporting victims and maintaining public trust. The force recognises the pressures on officers and staff, but workloads are reducing and positive victim outcomes are increasing. New policies have been introduced to balance workloads and improve efficiency, ensuring communities continue to be kept safe. Right, gosh. Well, anyway, would quite like it if they put as much effort into solving crimes as they did in getting back to us, but thank you nonetheless, West Yorkshire Police. Coming up, a gang of robbers escaped with tens of millions of euros after pulling off a Christmas Day heist. More on that soon, but next. The Daily Telegraph has got the scoop of the day, we think, on their front page. Labour will wreck the Special Forces. Not my words, the words of the SAS. That's next.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Whilst there's plenty of dry and bright weather across the UK at the moment, it's a different story around southern Europe. There's some rain sweeping its way towards Madeira and towards the Canary Islands through the next couple of days. It's wet across southern parts of Spain and northern Morocco. Some thundery rain likely again as we go through later this week. And further east, also some outbreaks of rain affecting parts of Greece and towards Cyprus. And some of these could be heavy and thundery at times. More changeable weather to come as we head into the new year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, very good evening to you. I'm here with your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Now, as we head into the last day of 2025, there's going to be a lot of dry, a lot of clear weather around, but it is also going to be cold with a harsh frost for many of us as well. That's because high pressure firmly in control across much of the country. I say much of the country because there is a front pushing into Orkney and Shetland, bringing blustery winds and also a few outbreaks of showery rain here. Elsewhere, a dry night for most of us, apart from one or two showers across some eastern, southeastern parts of England, and lots of clear sky. With that clear sky, temperatures plummeting, widely dropping a bit below freezing. In fact, in some places, could get as low as -7, -8 Celsius, so a harsh frost here. Also watch out for some fog, some freezing fog perhaps across some southern parts, which could take a little bit of time to clear as we go through New Year's Eve. Otherwise, it's looking largely fine and bright for many places, particularly towards the south, but later on tomorrow we are going to see a bit more cloud and some showery outbreaks of rain pushing into parts parts of Scotland. It is going to be a chilly day, with temperatures again a little bit below average for the time of year. Now, as we head through the evening tomorrow, and we're going to continue to see more cloud, more showery outbreaks of mostly rain pushing their way across parts of Scotland. As we head towards midnight itself, well, that's when those showers are going to become increasingly frequent, perhaps heavier. We're going to see the winds strengthening as well, and more likely to see some sleet and snow mixed in with them, particularly across northern parts of Scotland and over higher ground. Also, a chance of some of that showery rain pushing into parts of Northern Ireland and the far north of England, but further south, the central southern parts of England and Wales, it's staying dry. Clearer skies towards the south, allowing again for a frost and also some fog patches in a few places. As we go through the beginning of the new year, well, it is going to turn increasingly cold and a risk of snow pushing its way southwards. Bye-bye.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Let's get you the very first look at tomorrow's newspaper front pages, and we start with The Guardian. Get it out of the way. Primary care crisis blamed as A&E visits for coughs or hiccups surge. You're going to A&E for hiccups? Really? I mean, pretty ridiculous. Anyway, The Daily Telegraph. Labour will wreck the Special Forces. Now, this is former SAS commanders warning the government against changes to combat immunity rules. This, I think, is probably the big story. They are saying 7 former senior officials in the SAS say that Britain's most elite troops risk being used as scapegoats by politicians doing the enemy's work. I mean, it's really strong stuff. That I'll give you more detail on that in a second, but wow, especially given that we keep being told that we're on the brink of war, we're going to need the SAS, aren't we? And if there's trouble afoot there. Anyway, let's go to the Times. Britain lags with lowest investment across the G7. So we've suffered the worst investment levels in the G7, prompting Labour MPs to hit out at Rachel Reeves for driving down business confidence with broken commitments. So there you go. Their picture story, by the way, is David Lammy stood next to Ala Abd Al-Fattah's sister, Mona, and campaigning for his release back in 2022. And look how hard he's trying to do. Really serious big boy face there. Really,
it's a serious issue.
Really
Patrick.
serious. You just talk with big boy serious face.
It's a serious issue, Patrick.
Okay, all right. The Daily Mail. Police facing ruin from Labour's soft justice crime wave. Forces are set for £800 million bill from the plan to jail fewer criminals. The Sun. Now, they're leading with the Anthony Joshua story that was obviously happened yesterday. Terrible, devastating story. And again, you know, hearts go out to the 2 people who were very sadly killed in this, Sina Gami and Latif Ayadele. But AJ now says, I'm in pain all over my body. There are concerns for his boxing career, not just for the obvious mental trauma, but the idea that his injuries might be a lot more severe. Understandably so than people might have thought initially at the time, so we wish him very well indeed. The iPaper, rail passengers told not to travel on New Year's after Eurostar chaos. Well, get ready, because in a few minutes' time I'm going to tell you about what else you're not allowed to do on New Year's Eve, thanks to the police. But let's focus on Labour. We're going to wreck the Special Forces. Yeah, we're constantly told, get ready for World War III, we might have conscription, do your bit, your country needs you. But you've got former SAS commanders saying that the government's plans to basically prosecute people in the Special Forces means that they're going to ruin them.
Yeah, let's clog up the courts as well whilst we're ruining the special forces. We can have the double whammy. The thing that really annoys me about these sorts of stories, Patrick, is that these sorts of policies are almost inevitably written by people who've never been near a war, never seen a battle, never known the realities of how it works and the awful things that sometimes have to be done in order to win a conflict. They're done by Johnny pencil pushers somewhere in the civil service who have no concept of the realities of war. And so then to be able to throw this sort of stuff back at people who have represented this country is, you know, to be honest, at face value, disgusting.
Can I just say how punchy the statement from the SAS, former SAS commanders is here? They accuse politicians of, quote, doing the enemy's work by saying that they're going to... It's the increased ability to prosecute Special Forces soldiers, any soldier really, but in this case Special Forces soldiers, for things they do on the battlefield, right?
Same.
And they say they're doing the enemy's work. It says it will cost lives because commanders are going to turn risk-averse, soldiers are going to hesitate where they need boldness to save lives. They've called it self-sabotage. They've said that it is a gift to Moscow. British forces, Special Forces, are small, discreet, uniquely lethal. Their humiliation rewards Moscow, Tehran and Beijing. I mean, it's as damning as it can possibly get, really, Connie. And, you know, that plays into that trope that Labour are not on the side of our armed forces.
Right.
No, and why would people want to join our armed forces when this is the state of the country? You know, we already know that 40% of young British people would not fight for Britain, even if we were under immediate threat of invasion. Found out the other day that 54% of applicants to the army end up dropping out because of how long the process is. I know people who've tried to join the army at various levels. The process that it takes to get there eventually is so long. I want there to be high standards, but some of it just seems ridiculous. And now they're being told that, I know this is the SAS, it's not necessarily all military, but you might, you know, be one of those few people who decides, you know what, I am going to defend what's left of my country, but it comes at the risk of one day being prosecuted afterwards. Why would anyone want to do it?
Yeah, I mean, pretty bad stuff for starting with this. I think that many ex-SAS commanders are basically saying it's really special forces.
I think there are 2 points to this. The idea that, you know, this Labour government are hostile to veterans or to the army, and the most decorated soldier since Churchill, the most decorated MP since Churchill is a Labour MP, Al Cairns. He was a Royal Marine veteran, joined it when he was 18, left just before he was promoted to brigadier. He was a new MP.
I know, but that's the thing.
Minister of State.
He's John Healey when he's not. Why do
he's new to parliamentary procedure. You can't expect a fresher MP to go and be Defence Secretary. I think on the other point, I don't think you should have complete legal immunity if you're a soldier. I think, particularly, you know, in reference to Northern Ireland, if you've shot civilians in the back, you should be prosecuted. I don't think you should have immunity. I think the revelations we've seen about Bloody Sunday, around steak knife, around, you know, the horrors that they committed in West Belfast. You know, I know plenty of kids that grew up, adults now, but people who were kids in West Belfast in the 80s and the 90s when they saw this. I do not think the British soldiers that commit war crimes should have immunity.
I think one of the issues that we're going to have to move on here, but is that there's also been reports coming out about the US military saying that they don't really want to work with the UK Special Forces anymore because they're concerned about how hesitant they are about certain things. And I get that obviously we don't want to see the indiscriminate slaughter of civilians, and if people do that, they want to press charges, I suppose. But we also ask, you know, these incredibly brave men, and they are almost entirely men, you know, these incredibly brave men to do unspeakable things on our behalf around the world all the time, things that we would simply not be able to do. And they operate in a very different world. And sometimes, unfortunately, there are mistakes and bad things happen. I feel as though they deserve a lot more protection than what they get personally.
Very quickly, there are military procedures and court-martialing for those sorts of incidents when they take place.
OK, all right. Sorry. So, yes, next. It looks like the police have ruined New Year's Eve. That's next.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
9:30.
It is indeed.
And as the new year approaches, we've got, for the very first time, our GB News charity calendar. It's on sale, and 100% of the price. I should point out, actually, the pictures were taken by you and voted for by you because we've got so many entries. So you've made this. 100% of the profits go to our 2025 charity partner, which is the London taxi drivers' charity for children. And that actually is also proudly supported by Her Majesty the Queen. Really, really lovely
But look, I'm
pictures.
just going to take... There's a... Oh, hold on a sec. There we go. Look, how lovely are those pictures?
It's really nice. It's what is most important is the fact that, as we say, 100% of the money is going to charity. If you pick one up at the GB News shop online, and the chairman of the Taxi Drivers Charity for London is Anthony Moore, and he's here. It's great to see you.
Good morning.
Tell us a little bit about what the charity does.
We do several events a year. We take kids to the seaside as a group of taxis. So this year we had 80 taxis transferring around about 200 children. We went to the zoo this year, and so we've done that as an event. Everybody gives up their time. The taxi drivers just give up their time, all just so that the kids can have a good time. We've got our Christmas party, or the Mad Hatters party. That's in January, and we've got now 700 and... We've had to limit the numbers this year. We've got 720 children coming at the moment.
Wow.
But they will be entertained by singers, dancers. We've got the King's Welsh Guards turning up to give them the dimensions of the dance floor. So they're coming to do, in their full regalia, they hang around, hats on children, photographs. So, you know, we do several things.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
All right, welcome back. Two more front pages for you, quickly. The Daily Mirror, we're in AJ's corner. His mum is at his bedside in Nigeria, apparently. The Daily Express, this is a biggie. It's a good job we've got a paper show after this to get stuck into it. Meddling Euro judges are going to take on Shamima Begum's case. Shamima Begum's UK return bid was revived as the ECHR judges challenged Britain's stance on the jihadi bride. I do think that would finally be the case that meant that we left the ECHR, to be honest with you. I think in terms of public perception. Anyway, well, why have the police ruined this? At risk of being too London-centric, obviously that's the New Year's Eve firework display in central London, but there's a viewpoint that loads of people go to, and it's Primrose Hill in Camden. It's got panoramic views of the capital, and in 2024, an estimated 30,000 revellers went there. It's free, you don't have to pay anything, you see the fireworks, iconic day out. However, police have said, no, you can't. They're going to lock the park. They're going to shut it from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. They're going to put police officers there just to make sure no one turns up and tries to watch with their eyes a firework display. Sorry, what's happening here is pathetic, isn't it?
It's really sad, Patrick. Like, this is a part of the fabric of London, which, you know, is the capital city of what was once one of the greatest countries, not the greatest country the world's ever seen. And look, they will say, and I've heard them try to justify this as a cost-cutting measure, I think this is the price this country pays for multiculturalism, as Connie said earlier. I think there has been obviously increased risks of crime in events like this in recent years, not just in the UK, terror, and I think the government knows that. This is the price increasingly we are going to have to pay with a multicultural society.
What do you think?
I think this was part of a reorganisation of the Met earlier this year. They used to have the Royal Parks Operational Unit. They reorganised it, and there isn't a dedicated police force for the Royal Parks now. So I don't think it's multiculturalism. I think it's just a bit of bureaucracy in the Metropolitan Police, to be honest.
Are you telling me they can't find other police officers just to go up to Primrose Hill for the evening?
I mean, I'm not a Metropolitan Police spokesperson, but I think it's probably more difficult when there are parties across. You know, there'll be overflowing bars, overflowing pubs.
But
you know, quite a lot of hassle.
Sad state of affairs, Connie. Nice, happy time usually, although I appreciate someone did get stabbed to death there a couple of years ago. But nice, happy time normally. And, you know, now we can't have it. We can't have fun. It's the best city in the world, London. You can't watch the fireworks for free.
Obviously, it's very sad, but the issue is because it's not been made crystal clear as to why it's been shut down. You know, we think it might be because of this.
It was. They reported it 6 months ago. It was.
But it's happened now, and it's not being made crystal clear. I saw this, and it wasn't made clear. And then we have all our diversity barriers as well. Every time something like this happens, because of how much things like diversity barriers are popping up all the time, when stuff like this happens, we assume it's because of safety. And why wouldn't you? That's a reason.
I agree. I was very sceptical as to whether or not they had some intel on this, but anyway, there we go. As long as everyone stays safe, I suppose that's the main thing. Thank you to my panel. Now, TikTok. The clock is ticking for the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood. Will she ban Dr. Shadi El-Masri, the bloke we did the monologue on at 10 p.m? He's due to be speaking at events in Birmingham, in Bolton, in Ilford on the 4th, 5th and 6th of January. Now, the Global Relief Trust would say that the event is, of course, not an attempt to radicalise people. But I will remind you of what they told us. The speaker is highly respected throughout the Islamic world, and that includes the majority of Muslims in the UK. He said what I regard to be some pretty fruity stuff. Will I be sitting here tomorrow telling you the Home Office has banned him? Over to them.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, very good evening to you. I'm here with your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Now, as we head into the last day of 2025, there's going to be a lot of dry, a lot of clear weather around, but it is also going to be cold with a harsh frost for many of us as well. That's because high pressure firmly in control across much of the country. I say much of the country because there is a front pushing into Orkney and Shetland, bringing blustery winds and also a few outbreaks of showery rain here. Elsewhere, a dry night for most of us, apart from one or two showers across some eastern, southeastern parts of England, and lots of clear sky. With that clear sky, temperatures plummeting, widely dropping a bit below freezing. In fact, in some places, could get as low as -7, -8 Celsius, so a harsh frost here. Also, watch out for some fog, some freezing fog perhaps across some southern parts, which could take a little bit of time to clear as we go through New Year's Eve. Otherwise, it's looking largely fine and bright for many places, particularly towards the south, but later on tomorrow, we are going to see a bit more cloud and some showery outbreaks of rain pushing into parts of Scotland. It is going to be a chilly day with temperatures again a little bit below average for the time of year. Now, as we head through the evening tomorrow, and we're going to continue to see more cloud, more showery outbreaks of mostly rain pushing their way across parts of Scotland. As we head towards midnight itself, well, that's when those showers are going to become increasingly frequent, perhaps heavier. We're going to see the winds strengthening as well, and more likely to see some sleet and snow mixed in with them, particularly across northern parts of Scotland and over higher ground. Also, a chance of some of that showery rain pushing into parts of Northern Ireland and the far north of England, but further south, the central southern parts of England and Wales, it's staying dry. Clearer skies towards the south, allowing again for a frost and also some fog patches in a few places. As we go through the beginning of the new year, well, it is going to turn increasingly cold and a risk of snow pushing its way southwards. Bye-bye.
Warm and cosy, with a chance of zero visibility. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
OK, right, so great set of front pages. 3 biggies for you, OK? Number 1, Shamima Begum. It looks like the ECHR are going to try and make her come back to Britain. So I think that's the nail in the coffin for the ECHR. Number 2, Britain now has the lowest level of investment of any G7 country, and Labour MPs are blaming Rachel Reeves for it. That's a biggie. The other one, SAS commanders are saying that Labour is wrecking the Special Forces. All that and more.
This is your chance to become our biggest cash prize winner to date. £85,000 in totally tax-free cash could be making its way from our bank account to yours. It would be like having over £7,000 per month extra to play with each month for a whole year. That could be you, safe in the knowledge that 2026 is on us. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus us to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.